This is KUGAN CASSIUS for Rifle TV in association with McNews in Arbor, the headquarters of Frank Warren. I'm joined by promoter Frank Warren. Frank, I know what you're going to say. I'm going to ask you how you are. You're going to say you're your normal, average self.
That's what my wife says to me all the time. You're very average.
We won't go into that. Frank, is obviously just one place to start. Over the weekend, British title fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Nick Blackwell didn't end well for Nick Blackwell, who's currently in hospital. Many questions are being asked over the last 2 days about, from every angle, and not just boxing people, but sort of the outside public, about, you know, whether the fight should have been stopped, should have been pulled out. You watched the fight.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, it's obviously very tragic, and obviously everybody in boxing, I'm sure, you know, anybody with a heart wishes Nick a speedy recovery, and hopefully he'll make a full recovery. Thankfully, from what I understand and what I've sort of heard, he's not got, it's bleeding on the brain, not inside the brain. He did not have to have an operation to relieve any bleeding in the brain to alleviate the pressure, which is a big plus. So there's no operation, and the hospital and the doctors put him into a drug-induced coma, and that's what happens to a lot of people who have a trauma to the head. They do that to keep them still, so that they can recover. So hopefully he'll come back 100% and lead a normal, healthy life.
The fight was stopped due to a swollen eye. Obviously, the referee consulted the doctor, and they come to that decision because of the swollen eye. No one could have foreseen what would have happened a few minutes later. So, in hindsight, it's very easy for people to say, yes, the fight should have been stopped 2 rounds previous, it should have been pulled out, but like I said, the fight was stopped on the eye rather than...
Well, it was, because obviously, no one's got X-ray vision and knew that, and he wasn't showing signs of that sort of injury. It was fought at quite a pace to fight. Chris Eubanks was catching him a lot, as we all see with uppercuts. He was getting caught quite a bit often with them. But in watching the fight, I think it was the round prior to the stoppage, Chris Eubanks seemed like he tired a bit to me. He was just tiring, and I know from Gary Lockett, when I'd spoken to him before the fight, their tactics were to take him into the later rounds, and that's where they were looking to take over the fight. Now, whether that would have happened or not, I don't know. The fact was it was such a grotesque eye injury that he had. Thankfully, the referee correctly called the doctor in, and thankfully that it was stopped, and we know what happened afterwards. I don't think too much criticism can be put to Victor Loughnane. He's a very capable referee. A lot of people say the fight could have been stopped earlier, and I noticed that Peter Hamlin, who I've known for a number of years and from previous.
From Michael Watson? From Michael,
for Ted, and we actually, he advised the Boxing Board of Control and a team of doctors on safety procedures. And obviously it's better to be safe than sorry. But styles, it's a funny thing, styles make fights. You get guys who can absorb punishment and then come back into a fight. You get some guys who are just like that. They press and press. And like Nick Blackwell was backing off. He was pressing Chris Eubanks all the time. It's borderline whether it could have been stopped. His corner didn't feel that was the case. Gary didn't think that was the case. He was working the corner. He was close to him. He was looking in his eyes, and he was obviously getting some responses from him. But he did pick up this injury, and the injury was such when they gave him oxygen. As per the British Boxing Board of Control regulations, there's an anaesthetist that is at ringside. You have paramedics, you have ambulances at the venue, which the promoter has to provide, quite rightly so. They were all there, and from that point of view, it all went like clockwork, not like what happened years ago with Michael Watson, when in that show there was problems with the rival security companies not letting Michael get attention. He was taken to the wrong hospital. All sorts of calamities and terrible things happened that caused the Boxing Board of Control to change and look at their safety procedures, medical safety procedures. And up to now, it's been, we have had guys who've been injured. and have had operations and have gone on to be quite, you know, healthy and led a normal lives, although they've had to stop boxing, quite rightly so. You know, it's a very emotive subject, boxing. The nature of the sport is punching, is hitting each other. It's not about who's the biggest puncher. It's not about knocking people out. It's about scoring points, the art of hitting and not being hit. That's why you have judges there, because judges score the fights. Most fights go the distance. And you know what happened Saturday. You know, if he didn't have the eye injury, would that fight have gone on?
Probably would have.
Yeah, I think it would have. And that may have led to you know, maybe a more dangerous situation for Nick. But you can't, whatever way you want to look at it, you can't dress it up. It's a dangerous sport. And people who participate in it know it's a dangerous sport. And all we can do as people who are involved in running the sport, or at the level we're at, is to ensure that we put in the best procedures we can to ensure that, God forbid anything does go wrong, that that the boxer is getting the best treatment immediately. And that's all we can do. You know, I've been involved in my time in boxing. I think for about the first 25 years, never anything ever like that happened in any of my promotions. And then suddenly there was a couple of problems, and when I say problems, there was, you know, a couple of a fatality and bad injury. And as I say, things were, you know, we can always try to improve and learn lessons from any of these, you know, when these situations develop. But it is a dangerous sport. Statistically, it's far more safer than most sports, but most sports are not contact sports. So I think, as far as in this country is concerned, we do as best a job as we can, and you know, of course we don't want injuries or fatalities, but they will happen. They will happen. It's unfortunate, but that you know, on very rare occasions will happen. Does that justify the sport? I think the sport does far more good than it does harm. It gives people, you know, boxers, people who are involved in it, it gives them a chance to make a good life for themselves. The fact that we're doing it under the British Boxing Board of Control regulations ensures that people, and some people are born to fight, they just want to fight, not doing unlicensed fights, white collar boxing. I mean, you think about it, you've got professional people who are quite wealthy, they've got it in them that they want to fight, they participate in white collar. You've got all sorts of people who decide they want to do this, you know, amateur level, they want to fight. So all we can do is make sure that we do the best we can, protect them from themselves. And you get instances like where Boxing Board of Control have taken licences away from the likes of, say, Danny Williams, who will then get on a plane and fight in another jurisdiction. So I'd much rather the Boxing Board of Control be in control of it, make sure that what we're doing is under their auspices, under their medical guidelines, and that as most of the licence holders involved in the sport are responsible, that they adhere to those and comply with all those medical requirements to ensure that the boxer's safety is paramount.
It's a slight catch-22 situation from the referee's point of view, because you know yourself, Frank, in the past, referees have been criticised for stopping fights too early, and
Groves and Frock,
a classic example, and notably giving the fighter every opportunity, especially in big fights. So Victor Lachlan, like you said, very experienced referee, made that call, and he's in the ring with them fighters. He knows what's going on.
He's as close to him as I am to you. So he's in the eyes. We're sitting outside. We're looking, and you know, people can be very wise after you. And let's get it right. They're human beings. Referees. They can make a mistake. People make mistakes. You know, sometimes that does happen. But I don't think it was a mistake he made. You know, I think a lot of this is being based upon Chris Eubank Sr.'s comments in between rounds.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Obviously, there's some footage of him telling Junior to go to the body and not the head, and it's a question mark over, was he saying compassionately or was he saying it strategically?
Well, only he knows that.
Yeah. What do you
My opinion is it was strategically, because I feel that he wasn't didn't feel he was having the effect of the stoppage in doing that, and I think he was trying to slow. You know, in my opinion, I may be wrong, but it was about slowing him down, working to his body, you know, getting to drop his arms. That was his opinion. He said, why is the referee not stopping it? And you could look at that another way. Maybe he's thinking generally, why isn't the referee stopping this? Or he's encouraging his son, you're doing so well here, the referee should stop it. You know, again, it's very emotive. But looking at it before you knew what happened, my opinion was he was giving him instructions, you know, to slow him down, you know, to switch your tactics. You're headhunting all the time, which was quite effective, by the way, doing that. But to me, he just looked like he was slowing. The round prior to the stoppage, that round, the old, you know, the foot come off the gas, and maybe, you know, he was tiring because it was fought at quite a rate, that fight, you know, quite a high pace.
Obviously, we know Billy Joe Saunders was working for Channel 5 that night,
yeah.
And there was a little bit of interaction between the pair, as in Eubank and Saunders. After the fight, I believe he said to him, "You're next," and there was a few gestures during the fight as well towards Billy Joe. What, fun and games from Eubank?
Well, it's the same old story. I mean, we keep hearing that, and you know, we've been down that road, and they've had offers, they've agreed offers, but the fight didn't happen. In the meantime, Billy Joe's got to focus on keeping busy, not take his eye off the ball. And he's fighting on April the 30th against Bursak, who's a guy who actually beat Nick Blackwell. So he's fighting him. It's you know, in some ways, you might call it a marking time fight. I don't think it is marking time, because I think Bursak's, you know, he's a decent opponent. However, we all want bigger and better things. But you know, you look, Billy Joe's just won the title. You know, this is his first defence. We want to put him on in big fights. We've got a couple of big venues booked to try and make sure those fights happen in the summer. But he's got to get over this one first. Now, whether it's Eubank in the corner or not, I don't know. I don't know what Eubank, you know, I know what his feelings are after this fight. You know, I would think that he's going to fight on. I shouldn't think he's going to retire, but you never know. But if he is and he wants to fight, it's there to be done. I mean, one thing about it is that he weren't comfortable in the fight, although he was catching Nick with some good shots. You can see a lot of flaws there. I do anyway. I see a lot of flaws, and you know, some of the times he wasn't as comfortable as I think he'd like to have been. But I always thought it was going to be a tough fight for him.
So does the Chris Eubank rematch still remain an option as one of Billy Joe's big fights?
He's got a number of options, and that's one of them. But that's like the third option. The one we would want to do, what he wants, and he's called out for it, is to make the Golovkin fight. So that's what we are looking to try and make in the summer. That's what we want. That's the white fight he wants. Me, I'd say wait a bit, but that's the fight Bill wants.
Over the last couple of days as well, on Twitter, Frank, you would have heard that Danny Jacobs,
yeah,
the WBA regular champion, has called out Billy Joe Saunders. Is there a sense in this fight, Frank?
Well, I think down the road there is. Why not? I mean, it's a good fight. Daniel Jacobs is the guy that Chris Eubanks Jr. wouldn't fight. He vacated rather than fight him. So, you know, that is a fight there to be made. But is it a big money fight? It's not a bigger money fight as, say, Golovkin, and it's not as big a money fight as fighting Eubanks, to be quite honest. It's down that list, but it's a fight there for him, and one obviously we consider.
We'll have to wait and see, but before that, obviously, Billy Joe Saunders has Mad Max Bozak before he can think about anything else. I just spoke to Billy Joe actually a little while ago and done an interview with him, and he said, if you can't beat Bozak, what are his chances against Golovkin? Which is a
that is a fair point, but he can't take it for granted, and that's, you know, as I say, that's where we are. And you know, why is the fight happening? Because Bill fought last November?
December.
First week of December. He's going to fight again if he comes through his fight in July. He can't be out for 8 months.
Yeah.
So he's got to have a fight in between. That's why he's fighting.
So Frank, did you see any of the action from Sheffield Kevin Bizier against Kell Brook?
Yeah, I did.
Kell Brook's mandatory challenger. What did you make of it?
Well, it's very predictable. You know, going into the fight, you only looked at the form line. You see Bizier against Jojo Dan. You knew exactly what to expect, and you know, not Kell's fault. He did what he had to do and done it in style. And he obviously is looking for a big fight. He's been inactive for roughly a year. You know, what you want a great fight up north and for Britain. Him against Liam Smith. What a great fight. That is a fabulous fight to make.
Okay. Hasn't moved up to light middleweight yet.
Well, look,
possibly a plan in the future.
Why, so what? Keep your title and step up a weight. If you get beat, you still got the title. You're still welterweight champion. You've got a bit of insurance. It's a no-brainer, and it's a good fight. And I'm sure it's everyone. The fight. Certainly, I'd love to see that. Those two guys, two stars. That would be a mega. Great fight to watch. It'd be a fabulous fight to watch. So I'd like to see that. And you'd get bums on seats for it. Super Salesman didn't sell out, did he, up in Sheffield? What happened there? I put my Matchroom, Eddie Hearn's name's on the poster. Come and buy my shows because it's me, Eddie Hearn. How many tickets did they give away there? Can we get the real number, Eddie? You know, my accounts are a matter of public record. Not my accounts. One of the company's accounts are a matter of public record. How many tickets did you sell? We know the answer. You know the answer. You didn't sell out, did you? No more porky pies. Fans are not interested about whether my shows sell out or your shows sell out. They're not interested in all the silly politics. They want to see the good fights. They want to see the good fights. And the other thing they're interested in, which is really important, is not getting ripped off for tickets. They don't want to have to go on these sites, these secondary market, to buy tickets 4 or 5 times over the price of tickets. It's wrong. How do they get these tickets? How does a StubHub, for example, get 12 and 15 seats all next to each other in a row? Every day there's 400 or 500 tickets. It never goes down. There's always 400 or 500 tickets. Selling VIP tickets before they're even printed. Where do they get them from? And who sponsors Matchroom shows? StubHub. Why would you do that to the fans, eh? They should do away with all these sites. They're terrible what they do to the fans. Boxing tickets are expensive enough already, and they should do away with them. The same as like these football clubs topping people up, the away tickets. They've managed to do that now, haven't they? They've got them down to 30 quid. Stop ripping the fans off with these secondary sites. It's wrong. Shouldn't be doing it. And certainly don't let them sponsor your shows.
But other than that, you thought.
Other than that, I thought it was marvellous.
You thought Kelbrook done well.
No, he done exactly what he had to do, and he did do it. And Kel had 20 fights for me. I got him to number 1 position. He got himself there. He fought and won the fights. But I got him there. I got him as the mandatory for Pacquiao. Was that God knows how many years ago? He needs a big fight. And whilst all that jockeying around, saying I'm going to fight Cotto, I've got an email from Dino Duva at Rock Nation saying that Cotto is not fighting him because we were trying to get the fight for Liam Smith with Cotto. I wanted to do that fight. I thought it was a great fight for Liam, but Cotto at the moment, from what I understand, not doing anything. But so whilst we're waiting, let's make Liam Smith against Kel. It's a great fight. I'll do a joint promotion. Anything to get the fight on. Give the fans the fight they want to see. And they can buy a ticket at face value. Might have to pay a booking fee if they're buying it from a ticket master or whatever, but they ain't going to pay 4 or 5 times over the odds for it.
This idea of a joint promotion which has been talked about, especially over the...
Well, just done it with... just done it with... I don't want to get married to him.
Yeah, but look how many years that took.
Well, so it took years. I mean, years ago, I'd done joint promotions with his old man. Barry Hearn and I have done Barry Hearn and I were in the snooker business together many years ago. But let's give the fans what they want. That's a great fight. Let's get the fight on. Would you like to see that? That's a cracker, isn't it?
I'd see that fight.
That's a cracker, isn't it? That is a really good fight. Be brilliant for the fans. And I fancy my man. But it won't be easy.
But going back to, obviously, Anthony Crollo fights May 7th against Barroso, and obviously Flanagan who come through Derry Matthews recently. A lot of talk during that week about wanting to get that fight on together. But from an outside perspective, it seems, due to whatever reasons, politics, etc., that we're probably unlikely to see that fight.
I don't know. I mean, you've got to ask Anthony. It's no problem from from Terry. Terry wants to fight him. We made it very clear. We offered him here's £500,000, take the fight, have the fight, and park up this WBA title. Just go and fight. No, don't worry about it. We're not worried about the WBA title. There you go. But I understand where they're coming from, and I don't think they fancy the fight. But that's okay. If you don't fancy it, you don't fancy it.
Why don't you believe they don't?
Well, they would have took it.
Fight?
How much did you get to fight Barossa? How much did you get?
I don't know.
Do you reckon he's getting £500,000? I'll tell you the answer to that. No, not at all.
No, I know he's not getting.
He's not. Do you think he's getting half of that? I don't think he's getting that.
Eddie's already said that.
No, of course he's not. And he's a lovely fella. But this fight against Terry would have been again. It's a great fight for the fans. They're the fights we want to get on.
Does it bother you if that fight was to wind up on Sky Sports?
No, it doesn't bother me, as long as my man gets paid and it works out right. But why does it have to go on Sky Sports?
But isn't it come down to where the most amount of money is coming from?
Well, where does the most? What about you're getting a massive guarantee? You know, David Hay. Go and ask David Hay if he didn't do well when we made the fight with him and Chisora on BoxNation. You know, look at the fights. Look at all the big fights from abroad and whatever we've had and put on BoxNation. You know, of course, Sky's a bigger market, but there are ways to do the deals. You know, what we started off doing with David Hay and Chisora 4 years ago, we've evolved since then. And fights like that, we know we can generate and give guarantees for these guys. You know, to make these fights happen. But like I said before, it's really easy to do it. 2 sealed offers, put them down. If they win it, they've got the fight. If I win it, I've got the fight. They can put it on Sky, I'll put it on BoxNation. Whoever wins. The only people who are going to benefit are the boxers and the fans, because the fight will happen. That is the bottom line of it.
So if we take Crawler out of the equation for the moment, Terry Flanagan, when is his next mandatory due? I'm
not sure yet, but he'll be fighting again in the summer. We'll get him out again in the summer. He'll come out again in the summer.
Because you've mentioned Hughie Linares before.
Yeah, well, we've been. He's injured, as you know, so we're just waiting to see what happens. But we're working on a few things at the moment.
Okay. Wanted to talk to you about Lucas Brown.
Yeah.
I believe I saw something on his Twitter today that he has some announcement today regarding whatever, but by the time this goes out, I don't know what the announcement is. But failed a drug test, clenbuterol, believe it was, after his win over Shagayev. Lucas Brown maintains his innocence of any wrongdoing. What do you make of that situation?
Well, I'm against any form of drug taking in boxing, and I think it should be zero tolerance. However, the fight was on in Chechnya, former Soviet state, and we all see what happens with a lot of things over there, and there is a bit of a worry, and I don't see how what he was taking, and I'm only from what I've I spoke to a doctor about this, and what he was taking is a diuretic to help you lose weight. Now I don't see why a heavyweight he's not, he doesn't have to make weight, if you know what I mean, and so I don't see why he'd taking it. And there was a thing about it as well that it can enhance. May give you a little bit, maybe a little bit performance enhancing. But, speaking to Ricky Hatton and who's his promoter about this, they feel that something is untoward. I hope, it'd be a shame for him because I thought he'd done well to go. I mean, nobody fancied him going over there, did they? They all thought he was going to get beat, and he did well to win the fight.
But I mean, it's not a new problem. I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not going to sort of make any judgment on Lucas Brown whatsoever. But the test was failed, and this isn't a new problem, Frank, and it isn't a problem that's going to sort of stop.
It's a problem in sport, full stop. I mean, across the board, Sharapova, you go through all of it. It is.
Do you support a lifetime ban if you're?
I think that if it's, look, if a guy gets caught and has happened, he's been caught tested positive for smoking a bit of weed, is that a lifetime ban? I don't know if that should be banned. you can buy over the counter. You can take stuff that's actually over the counter, and the athlete needs to know what you can and cannot take. I think this thing with, for example, with Sharapova, apparently up until January, what she was taking, it was okay to take because it was over the counter. Now I don't know whether that's the case or not. I just feel that any form of drug abuse, which is more dangerous for our sport than any other sport, I believe, should be zero tolerance.
But is it a case of finding out what is genuine and what's not? Because
well, of course it is, but that's the idea of the samples and the test.
But is it the intention rather than anything
well, I don't
else?
know. I mean, what is the...
How can you prove the intention though? That's the thing. So is it got to be a flat rule for everyone?
I think it's a flat rule, and I think that trainers who are training the boxer and their managers that are managing the boxers should notify them if they are taking anything. For example, if they've got the flu, if they've got any allergies and so forth, and there's a banned substance in what they're taking over the counter, they should be making sure that the Board of Control, or whatever governing body is aware of that beforehand, so that they can be determined whether they're going to be allowed to fight or not, or what their view is on it. But whatever happens, if you are, you've got to be responsible for your actions if you're taking banned substances. There has to be a zero tolerance.
Frank, your show this week has to be postponed.
Yeah.
Nav Mansouri sustained an injury recently. So, and obviously with Liam Williams...
Well, we were looking for another opponent for him, but I think the fact that Liam was in Nick's corner, along with his trainer, Gary Lockett, and I know and certainly I know Gary's been really worried over the last few days. We feel it's prudent to postpone it for a few weeks. And that's what we're doing.
And the undercard, which was
we'll
originally
shift
meant to be
all the
that.
guys around, and we move them around and get them fights on other shows.
Okay.
So I feel sorry for them, but it's better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. Frank, in addition to your Copper Box show on April 30th, you've added unbeaten heavyweight Hughie Fury, which is a great addition to the bill.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to working with him. I hope it will be the first of many fights that he's going to have with us. He's a very talented young man, and I think that his dad's done Peter's done a fabulous job with him. And when you think that some of the fights he was having, he wasn't 100%. He had a bit of a blood disorder, which they only sort of managed to find out about recently. So you've got to take your hat off to him. What a tough guy he must be. But I think he's a tremendous young talent, and he'll be, I think, in the next 18 months or so, I think he'll be up there challenging for a world title.
So that card on the 30th, is that complete? Are you still adding to that?
No, that's it now. That show's done.
Yeah. Okay. But like I said, Hughie Fury undefeated. Fought the other night actually against Dominic Gwynn, dominated him for the whole fight.
From the first bell to the last.
Yeah.
It was good. Getting nice 10 rounds under his belt. And I'm sure that waiting around though, whilst what was going on, affected him. It's difficult for him. So he's quite. He done very well.
Peter Fury seems to think it's going to be 18 months to 2 years before he's challenging for world honours.
Yeah, I think it's about right. Yeah, he's a young man. He's only a baby. He's got a long way to go yet. When you look at how many fights he's had, you look how many Anthony Joshua's had. You think what he's done. He had as an amateur. He won that medal, didn't he? So he's a gold medal. So he's a quality young fighter. And you've got to think, being in the camp he's been in, and you know that Tyson's preparation. I know Peter brings in some really good sparring partners. He's been around all that, so he's been learning his trade, and I think that is going to be sort of to his benefit in the next couple of years.
We know, obviously, recently in the last 2 weeks, Shannon Briggs arrived from America. Making waves. He
arrives everywhere, doesn't he? Wherever there's a fight, he shows up on the scene. Yeah. Shannon Briggs was a good fighter, and he fought on my shows in the States. I was doing the Showbox dates out there with Showtime, and that's years ago. What's he, about 45 now?
44.
He ain't going to get a licence in the UK. He won't get licensed. Board of Control will not license him. How Eddie Hearn can talk about sitting down and working the plan out for him? He will not get licensed. He had terrible... when he fought Klitschko, he got very bad damage to his eye sockets. Both of them were broken. He took a terrible belting in that fight. He's 44 years of age. He's not some young kid. Why would you even encourage him to fight? It's a bit like, you know.
He has been active though, right?
Yeah, but he's been active abroad. But why would you encourage a guy? It's like me saying to Danny Williams, "Come on, Danny, fight. Let's get you a fight." What's the difference? No difference to me.
So.
Well, do you think, you know, I'm not being, and I really don't mean this being disrespectful to Shannon Briggs, because he's a colourful guy, talks a lot, you know, he says one thing. But do you think Shannon Briggs is ever going to win a world title? Genuinely, do you believe that?
Well, it's sometimes about opportunity, isn't it,
Well,
Frank?
but he's had opportunities. He's had opportunities. He's not got any better. He's not got become a better fighter at the age of 44, has he?
No,
Well, he's not. He has he? I mean, I know he's not.
But 6 months ago, if I said to you, do you believe that Charles Martin would become world champion? What would you have probably
But
said
Charles
then?
Martin is not 44 years
No,
of
I'm
age.
not saying that. I'm just
and
saying,
he's
but
a young
sometimes it does
man.
come
And
down to
it
opportunity.
doesn't come down to that. I don't believe it does come down to that, because he's 44 years of age. And I know all you guys out there are going to say, oh, what about George Foreman? George Foreman was a unique fighter. You know, was a world champion. Big guy. Didn't get the granny knocked out of him in fights. That didn't happen. You know, I know Shannon Briggs wants to get a living. He's a fighting man. It's a bit like Roy Jones. They shouldn't be fighting. We proved that with Enzo going out there. You know, I didn't particularly want to see that happen, but you know, Enzo's an opportunity for him, and he's getting well paid for it, so it happened. But he shouldn't be fighting. And anybody who encourages him, I mean, where'd you go? We're going to do a promotional deal with him. Please protect the fighter. Protect him. That's what we're about. You've just seen what happened this weekend with, you know, again with a young, healthy young man in there. Why do you want to encourage a 44-year-old guy to be fighting Anthony Joshua or fighting Tyson Fury? Why would you do that? There's only going to be one winner in the fight. It's crazy, and I don't understand it. That for me, I find, you know, it doesn't do us any good at all. A bit like Chris Eubanks Senior and Nigel Benn. You know, Nigel got all the time in the world for him. What on earth are those two on about fighting each other? Who's going to sanction that? That's not going to get sanctioned by anybody, is it? That gets sanctioned by Saga Holidays. Who's going to sanction it? It's not fair. It's not right. And it's not good for the sport, because everybody that gets all in. You know, we all get caught up in all this. This is what we do as a sport. This is where it's a bastard sport, and things like this happen. Shouldn't be allowed. And you know, and I know everyone's going, oh, yeah. It's not because Shannon Briggs has done this thing with Eddie Hearn, or it just should not be. It should not be allowed to happen. Period. We tried to get Shannon Briggs over here about 5-6 years ago, and he's an old guy then, and the board knocked him back. So how are they going to sanction him now?
Well, we'll have to see how it pans out. He's here for a little while, so I don't know.
He's here, and
but you're right, it is what it is.
Yeah, but you know what? A lot of people, you know, in boxing, there's a lot of colourful people. Muhammad Ali was the most colourful fighter of all time. And sometimes things can, you know, enhance. If you've got a medical problem, it's going to enhance them. And you know, and that's not what it should be all about. You know, for Shannon Briggs, he needs to get a few quid. We all understand that. He's a fighting man. Like Danny Williams is a fighting man. And Danny Williams should not have been going abroad and fighting. You know, the board stopped him, he went off abroad to do it. It shouldn't be encouraged. The people abroad who sanctioned him and made fights shouldn't have been allowed to do that. It should not have happened. It's, you know, it's a great shame. And you know, sometimes we'll you know, we do things as, you know, in the sport which you think better of, but you know, Shannon Briggs at the age of 44, to be doing that is crazy. I don't know what he brings to the party besides being outrageous. It could be that's an accident waiting to happen.
Okay, well, Frank, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV, and unless you have any closing words.
No, that's about it, mate.
Yeah.
That's about me. I'm out of breath now.
So we can't get you doing a "Let's Go Champ."
Let's go, champ.
Let's go. His slogan: "Let's go champ."
Let's go, champ. Yeah, let's go, champ. He's
right.
gone, champ. You know.
All right. Well, listen. Thanks for talking to us, and
Not at all, mate.
we'll catch up with you obviously in due course. But your next show now will be April 30th.
Absolutely, yeah.
At the Copper Box.
That's the one, yeah.
So
we're all looking forward to that.
yeah, where Billy Joe told me today he's going to slap up Burzak. He said he's going to. Sorry, he said he's
Mad
gonna,
Max.
He said he's going to slap him. If he can't slap him, he needs slap him. That's what Billy Joe said to me today. So we'll see. All right, Frank. Thank you very much.
Thank you.